The sky above St. Marina Hospital had turned the color of steel. The sea, usually calm and silver, was a restless mirror, swallowing the horizon in waves that rose like clenched fists. Inside the hospital, fluorescent lights flickered in nervous rhythm. Nurse Clara Reyes adjusted her mask and pressed her palm against the window, watching the first sheets of rain slap against the glass. The radio in the nurses' station buzzed with official voices, evacuation orders, coastal closures, rising flood alerts. But Clara's focus never left her patient's room 204. Mr. Holloway needed his oxygen checked every 20 minutes. Room 206, Mrs. Palmer, was frightened by the sound of thunder. Room 209, a premature baby, had to be monitored around the clock. The storm outside was chaos, but inside, Clara moved with the rhythm of purpose, calm, precise, human. By noon, half the staff had been sent home. Dr. Mendez stood by the intercom issuing his last calm announcement. All non-critical staff must evacuate. Only essential medical personnel are to remain until further notice. Clara glanced up from her chart. Her pen didn't stop moving. She simply said, "They're all essential." At 4 p.m., the power flickered once, twice, then vanished. Monitors went dark. The hum of machines turned into silence, heavy enough to feel Clara's heart leapt. She rushed to the emergency cabinet and grabbed flashlights, her hands shaking as she passed them out. Dr. Mendez shouted over the chaos, "Generators, go, go!" But the generators were already drowned. The basement had filled within minutes. The sea had entered the hospital. When the rescue trucks finally arrived, they could only reach the upper floor. Paramedics shouted, "We can take 20, no more." Dr. Mendez turned to Clara, soaked and breathless. "Get on the last truck." She looked at the stretcher in front of her. Mr. Holloway, eyes shut, chest rising weakly under a manual respirator, and she said quietly, "If he's staying, I'm staying." As the last truck left, its siren fading into the storm, Clara stood alone in the flickering hallway. The building creaked. The windows trembled. There were still 9 patients left. 9 lives tied to machines that no longer worked. 9 people who trusted her heartbeat to keep theirs going. That night, the world outside disappeared. The city was underwater. Inside, Clara tied her hair back, rolled her sleeves, and began the longest shift of her life. She moved from bed to bed, pressing the respirator pump with one hand, whispering prayers with the other. By midnight, her voice was gone. Her palms were bruised from hours of manual pumping. She took a small note from her pocket and began writing, in case no one came back. The note read, "If anyone finds this, please tell them we tried. Tell them they were not alone." That was the last line she managed before the ink smudged with water, because at 2 a.m. the flood reached her knees. But she kept working. By dawn, the world had turned gray. Water filled the corridors like slow rivers, carrying paper charts and medicine bottles adrift. Clara had no idea what hour it was. The clocks had drowned too. She only measured time in breaths, each one she saved, each one she feared losing. Her flashlight flickered weakly, throwing shadows that danced across peeling walls. She whispered to herself, "Just hold on. Morning always comes." But in the ICU, Mr. Holloway's breathing grew shallow. The hand pump slowed with her exhaustion. She sat beside him, soaked and trembling, her hair plastered to her cheeks. His eyes opened halfway. Holloway, you should go, child. Clara, and leave you here. Holloway, you've done enough. Clara, not yet. The wind howled outside, breaking glass somewhere down the corridor. Clara tore the sheet from an empty bed, wrapped it around his legs, and continued to pump air into his lungs. Her hands moved automatically. Pain forgotten, only rhythm and duty remained. At some point, she began humming, softly, the same lullaby her mother used to sing. Her voice was hoarse, barely audible over the storm, but somehow the man smiled. For a moment, the ICU didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like a home. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. When rescue teams finally reached the lower floors, they called out through megaphones, "Anyone here? Respond if you can hear us." But Clara couldn't answer. She was half asleep, her head resting on Mr. Holloway's arm, her fingers still pressing the respirator. Rescue diver Liam pushed through the water, flashlight slicing through darkness. He found her, motionless at first, then her hand twitched. Her lips moved faintly. "He's still breathing. Don't stop." They lifted both of them onto stretchers. Outside, the storm was breaking apart, sky bleeding into pale sunlight. As the helicopter lifted off, Liam looked down through the open door. Below, St. Marina Hospital was half submerged but still standing. 3 days later, Clara woke up in a recovery room. Her voice was gone. Her hands were bandaged. On the bedside table lay a folded note, the same one she'd written during the night. The ink had blurred, but one line remained clear. "Tell them they were not alone." The press called her a hero. But when a reporter asked how she found the strength to stay, she smiled faintly and said, "I didn't find it. It found me." In their eyes. Years later, survivors rebuilt the hospital. In the main hallway, they placed a plaque with her words engraved in steel. They were not alone. Visitors still pause there every storm season to read the words and whisper a quiet thank you to the nurse who stayed behind.